My beloved child, before the stars faded and before the world awakened, something happened that could not be ignored. A quiet confession echoed through the silence, not because it was loud, but because it was honest. Someone connected to your heart whispered, "I am pretending with them." Those words carried more weight than anyone around them realized. They smiled where they were expected to smile, nodded when everyone thought they agreed, and continued walking a path that never truly belonged to them. Deep inside, their thoughts kept returning to one person, you. Stay with me for a moment, because this story is only beginning. What seemed like an ordinary night slowly became a turning point. As this unfolds, clarity will come. The pieces that never made sense before may finally begin fitting together, and something huge is waiting for you. There are moments when people become tired of hiding behind the version of themselves they created for everyone else. Last night became one of those moments. Your soulmate looked around and realized they had been acting strong while carrying emotions they never shared. They had convinced others they were happy, convinced themselves that pretending was easier than facing the truth, yet their heart refused to cooperate. Every memory they tried to ignore returned stronger than before. Every conversation reminded them of what they had been missing. This may resonate as we continue, because sometimes the greatest confession is not spoken to a crowd. It is whispered into the quiet, when no one is watching. And once that truth is spoken, nothing inside a person remains the same. What makes this confession extraordinary is not the sentence itself. It is the reason behind it. They finally admitted they had been living according to expectations instead of emotions. They realized that pretending may impress people for a season, but it never brings peace. At that very moment, something shifted inside them. Questions they had avoided suddenly demanded answers. Feelings they had locked away refused to stay hidden. They began looking at old memories differently, recognizing details they had overlooked before. Strange coincidences no longer felt random. Small signs suddenly seemed connected, as if every step had quietly been leading toward one unforgettable realization. The story is becoming clearer, but its biggest chapter has not yet arrived. Imagine standing at a doorway between the life everyone expects you to live and the life your heart has quietly imagined for years. That is exactly where your soulmate found themselves. Fear said to keep pretending. Hope whispered to be honest. They stood in silence, knowing that one decision could change everything that followed. The most surprising part is that they never expected this realization to happen so suddenly. Yet once the truth entered their heart, pretending became heavier than honesty. Every passing hour made the difference impossible to ignore. Hidden emotions became impossible to silence, and the future began looking completely different from the one they had planned only yesterday. The night has ended, but the confession has only begun revealing its meaning. There is still one important piece missing, and that missing piece changes the entire picture in a way almost no one expects. The reason they said, "I am pretending with them," reaches far beyond appearances. It points toward a decision that is quietly forming, one capable of surprising everyone involved. Stay with me for a moment, because the next chapter uncovers why this confession happened now instead of months ago, and why the timing itself may become the most unforgettable part of this entire story. Something huge is waiting for you. A single confession can remain hidden for a night, but it rarely stays hidden forever. The morning after brought a different kind of silence. Your soulmate carried on with the same routine, spoke to the same people, and wore the same familiar smile. Yet something was completely different. Inside, they could no longer ignore the truth they had finally admitted. Every conversation felt incomplete because their heart already knew what their words refused to reveal. Stay with me for a moment, because what happened next was even more unexpected. As this unfolds, clarity will come. They began noticing little moments that reminded them of you in ways they never expected. It was as though life itself kept placing gentle reminders in front of them, making it impossible to return to pretending. The stronger they tried to act, the more obvious it became that their heart had already chosen honesty over appearances. Then came a quiet realization that surprised even them. They understood they had spent too much time trying to make everyone else comfortable while ignoring what truly mattered to them. For the first time in a long while, they stopped asking, "What will others think?" and started asking, "What feels true to my heart?" That small change became the beginning of something much greater. This may resonate as we continue, because sometimes the biggest transformation begins with a single question. If this story is speaking to you, share it with someone who enjoys uplifting messages, subscribe for more journeys like this, and let this message continue reaching hearts that need encouragement. Something huge is waiting for you, and this is only the next step. As the day moved forward, unexpected memories returned one after another. Tiny conversations, forgotten smiles, and moments that once seemed ordinary suddenly carried a deeper meaning. Your soulmate realized they had never truly left those memories behind. Instead, they had simply covered them with distractions. Now those distractions were losing their power. The truth was becoming impossible to hide, even from themselves. Every new thought strengthened the feeling that pretending had reached its limit. They were no longer searching for another excuse. They were searching for the courage to be genuine, and that search was quietly changing everything around them. The most surprising part was not that they confessed. It was what happened after the confession. Peace slowly replaced confusion. The pressure of pretending became lighter with every honest thought they allowed themselves to have. They started imagining a future built on sincerity instead of expectations. It did not happen all at once, but each passing moment made the direction clearer. The path ahead no longer felt uncertain. It simply required patience, faith, and the willingness to stop hiding behind a version of themselves that never felt real. Every step forward brought them closer to the life they secretly wished they had chosen much earlier. But the story is far from over. The confession opened one door, yet another door is about to reveal something even more meaningful. There is one conversation still waiting to happen, and when it does, everything your soulmate has been quietly feeling will begin connecting in ways that almost seem impossible to predict. Stay with me for a moment, because the next chapter uncovers the one realization they could no longer keep inside. As this unfolds, clarity will come. And something huge is waiting for you. Not every truth is spoken out loud, sometimes it is revealed through the choices a person finally begins to make. After everything your soulmate admitted to themselves, they noticed they were no longer interested in living the same way they had before. The routine that once felt normal suddenly felt empty. They paused more often. They reflected more deeply. Even the smallest moments carried a different meaning. Stay with me for a moment, because this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. As this unfolds, clarity will come. The confession from last night was not the ending, it was the beginning of a transformation they never saw coming. Something huge is waiting for you. One quiet moment changed everything. Instead of asking themselves how to keep everyone happy, they finally asked, "What have I been hiding from my own heart?" That single question stayed with them throughout the day. The answer did not arrive immediately, but every passing hour brought another piece of the puzzle. They realized they had been pretending not because they wanted to, but because it felt easier than facing emotions they could not explain. Now those emotions were becoming impossible to ignore. The more honest they became with themselves, the lighter they felt. What once seemed confusing slowly started making perfect sense. Then came the realization they had never expected. They understood that genuine connections cannot grow where people wear masks. The version of themselves that everyone knew was only a small part of who they truly were. Behind every smile was a hope they never shared. Behind every quiet moment was a dream they had protected for a long time. This may resonate as we continue, because many people spend years searching for answers that only appear when they finally stop pretending. Your soulmate felt as though an invisible weight had been lifted. For the first time in a long while, they believed that honesty could lead them toward the future they had quietly imagined. As evening approached, another unexpected feeling settled into their heart: peace. Not because every question had been answered, but because they finally stopped running from the truth. They no longer felt the need to impress everyone around them. Instead, they wanted their actions to match what they truly felt inside. It was a quiet change, almost invisible to everyone else, yet powerful enough to reshape the direction of their journey. Every small decision they made after that reflected the same message: pretending was over, and authenticity had become stronger than fear. But the biggest surprise has not been revealed yet. There is still one moment waiting just ahead, a moment that connects every clue from the confession, every emotion they tried to hide, and every sign that has quietly appeared along the way. Stay with me for a moment, because the next chapter uncovers why this inner change is about to create an unforgettable turning point. As this unfolds, clarity will come, and something huge is waiting for you. There comes a moment when silence speaks louder than words. Your soulmate reached that moment sooner than they ever imagined. They stopped trying to convince themselves that nothing had changed, because everything had changed. The confession from that unforgettable night was no longer just a memory, it had become the foundation of every decision they were beginning to make. Stay with me for a moment, because the next few moments reveal why this inner shift mattered more than anyone realized. As this unfolds, clarity will come. Every step they took now carried a sense of purpose they had never felt before, and something huge is waiting for you. For the first time, they allowed themselves to imagine a future without pretending. That vision felt unfamiliar, yet incredibly peaceful. They realized that being true to themselves was far more rewarding than trying to meet everyone's expectations. Each passing day strengthened that feeling. The doubts that once controlled them slowly lost their power, replaced by quiet confidence and hope. If you're enjoying this journey, share this video with someone who loves inspiring stories, subscribe so you don't miss the final chapter, and continue this journey with us. The most meaningful revelation is still ahead, and this may resonate as we continue. Then something remarkable happened. They began recognizing that many of the moments they once dismissed as ordinary had actually been preparing them for this exact season of life. Every lesson, every delay, and every unexpected turn now seemed connected. Instead of feeling frustrated by the past, they became grateful for it. Their heart was no longer focused on what had been lost. It was focused on what could still be built with honesty, patience, and genuine emotion. The confession had done more than reveal the truth, it had given them the courage to become the person they had always wanted to be. As the evening settled once again, your soulmate experienced a quiet certainty they had never known before. They understood that pretending had only delayed their growth, never protected it. The person they were becoming felt stronger, calmer, and more authentic. Every decision moving forward would reflect that new understanding. There was no dramatic announcement, no grand display, only a steady confidence that the right path begins with being honest with yourself. That realization became the greatest gift hidden inside the confession. And now, only one final chapter remains. It contains the answer that ties together every clue, every emotion, and every unexpected turn you've heard so far. The final piece explains why that simple sentence, "I am pretending with them," became the beginning of a completely different future. Stay with me for a moment. As this unfolds, clarity will come. The ending is closer than ever, and something huge is waiting for you. A new day arrived, but your soulmate no longer felt like the same person. The confession that once seemed impossible to admit had quietly rewritten the way they saw their own journey. They understood that pretending could never create the peace they had been searching for. Real peace only appeared when they stopped hiding from their own heart. Stay with me for a moment, because this final chapter brings every piece together. As this unfolds, clarity will come. Looking back, they realized every unexpected delay, every unanswered question, and every emotional moment had been guiding them toward one simple truth: authenticity changes everything. The greatest surprise was not that they confessed. The greatest surprise was what the confession awakened inside them. They stopped chasing approval and started valuing honesty. They stopped measuring their life by appearances and started measuring it by peace. Suddenly, even ordinary moments felt meaningful because they were no longer carrying the weight of pretending. Their heart became lighter, their thoughts became clearer, and the future no longer felt uncertain. Instead of asking, "What if nothing changes?" they began asking, "What wonderful possibilities open when I finally become myself?" That quiet change became the real miracle of the story. Now the title makes complete sense. Last night's confession shook heavens. Your soulmate said I am pretending with them. It was never about creating drama. It was about the exact moment someone chose truth over appearances. That single sentence marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of another filled with sincerity, hope, and emotional freedom. Sometimes the biggest turning points are not loud at all. They begin with one honest sentence spoken in a quiet moment, and from there, everything slowly starts falling into place. This may resonate as we continue remembering that the strongest relationships are built on honesty, not perfection. If this message found you at the right time, carry its reminder with you today. Never underestimate the power of one truthful moment. A single honest decision can open doors that years of pretending never could. The path ahead is rarely changed by one dramatic event. It is changed by small, genuine choices repeated day after day. That is exactly what your soulmate discovered, and it became the foundation of a brighter tomorrow. Every new step they take now is guided by sincerity instead of fear, and that makes all the difference. As this journey comes to a close, remember the heart of the message. The confession was not the destination, it was the beginning of a more authentic future. Every clue throughout this story pointed toward the same lesson: when truth replaces pretense, clarity follows, hope grows stronger, and new possibilities appear where none seemed to exist before. Stay with that thought long after this story ends. As this unfolds, clarity will come. And always remember, something huge is waiting for you.